For decades, downtown singer Petula Clark concealed a web of painful truths: harassment from powerful producers, death threats for speaking out politically, and the hidden struggles of her marriage to Claude Wolff. But now, she's ready to open up, revealing the truth about her tumultuous journey, including the untold story of her encounter with Elvis Presley. But her story begins with something as simple, yet as significant, as a name that wasn't truly hers. Born Sally Alwyn Clark on November 15, 1932, in Ewell, Surrey, her father chose to rename her Petula, combining the names of two former lovers. Her mother was dismayed by the decision, but the name stuck, just as the unpredictable twists of fate would define her life in ways no one could have foreseen. Her childhood was far from stable. With both parents working as nurses, she was raised by her grandparents in Wales. As World War II unfolded, she moved frequently to escape the bombings, learning to navigate a life of constant upheaval. This adaptability would become one of her greatest strengths in the years to come, shaping both her career and character. At just 7 years old, she made her first public appearance at a smoky Welsh pub, where her voice stunned the crowd into silence. But it was in 1942, at the age of 9, when her career truly took off. While recording a BBC radio message for her uncle serving in North Africa, air raid sirens blared through the broadcast. The producer, desperate for a distraction, called on Petula to sing. As she began, Mighty Lack arose, her voice soothed the anxious crowd. That broadcast sparked something monumental. Listeners flooded the BBC with letters, clamoring for more. By 11, she had become Britain's Shirley Temple, beloved for her ability to make audiences both laugh and cry. Soldiers carried her photograph into battle, seeing her as a symbol of home and hope. Petula performed in bomb shelters, hospitals, and military camps, giving more than 500 performances for the troops. In 1945, as the war drew to a close, she made history with a performance in Trafalgar Square, marking her place in the nation's memory. Her rise to fame wasn't planned. It was inevitable. At just 12 years old, she was singing for British troops at the Royal Albert Hall when renowned director Maurice Elvey cast her in Medal for the General, 1944. Over the next 5 years, she appeared in 17 films, including I Know Where I'm Going, 1945, holding her own alongside veteran actors. By 16, she had performed for both Winston Churchill and King George VI, earning the adoration of the public and the title of the Singing Sweetheart. Despite her film success, it was music that truly called to her. In 1954, she reluctantly recorded The Little Shoemaker, a song that unexpectedly became a massive hit. It climbed to number 7 in the UK and topped the charts in Australia, making her the first British female artist to achieve such success. Uncommon for the time, Petula recorded the song in multiple languages, launching a career that would stretch across the globe. In 1957, Petula recorded her first French song, Prends mon cœur, without knowing a word of French. She learned it phonetically, and the song became a top 10 hit in France. By 1962, she had mastered the language well enough to win the prestigious Grand Prix du Disque Français for Chariot. But as her career flourished, so did the hidden struggles, an industry rife with secrets, betrayal, and a life behind closed doors that she's only now ready to expose. In 1962, Petula Clark achieved an unprecedented feat: simultaneous hits in 3 languages: Chariot, French, Monsieur, German, and Romeo, English. But she didn't just translate songs for different markets. She recorded brand new versions in Italian, Spanish, and even Japanese, proving her ability to transcend language barriers and become a true international sensation. By the mid-60s, Petula Clark's French hit Ya Ya Twist had already sold over 1 million copies, but it was her next track that would truly change her life: Downtown. When Tony Hatch first pitched the song to Clark, she wasn't convinced. The lyrics seemed too simplistic, not her style. Yet, Hatch's persistence paid off. On October 16, 1964, in London's Pi Studios, the recording session was plagued by technical issues, and Clark nearly walked out in frustration, but they pressed on, and by November 16th, Downtown was released simultaneously in 4 countries. It debuted at number 87 on the Billboard Hot 100, and then something incredible happened. It skyrocketed. By January 23, 1965, it reached the coveted #1 spot, making Clark the first British female artist to top the US charts during the rock era. In the UK, its rise was halted only by the Beatles' I Feel Fine. But worldwide, Downtown reigned supreme. That same year, the song won a Grammy for Best Rock and Roll Recording, beating out legendary bands like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. From 1964 to 1968, Petula Clark racked up an impressive 15 consecutive U.S. Top 40 hits, including I Know a Place #3, My Love, Dr. 1, and Don't Sleep in the Subway, Dr. 5. Oddly, while America embraced her as a superstar, her chart success in the UK didn't quite match up, but across Europe, she was unstoppable. In Germany, Monsieur became the best-selling foreign single of its time. By the end of the 60s, Clark had sold over 70 million records, a staggering achievement in an era before digital downloads. Then came Hollywood. In 1968, she starred opposite Fred Astaire in Finian's Rainbow, directed by a young Francis Ford Coppola. The age gap between their characters, 34 years, was jarring, and though critics praised the film, audiences didn't flock to theaters. Still, Clark's performance earned her a Golden Globe nomination. Her next role, in Goodbye, Mr. Chips, 1969, almost slipped through her fingers. Originally cast as Catherine Bridges, she was replaced at the last minute, only to be called back to the role. The challenge was immense, requiring her to portray a character aging across 2 decades. But Clark rose to the occasion, and the film's soundtrack, featuring her vocals, soared to number 5 on the UK Albums Chart. In 1981, at 48, Clark stunned audiences by taking on the role of Maria von Trapp in The Sound of Music on Broadway. Traditionally cast with much younger actresses, Clark brought a new depth to the character, performing 8 shows a week for 15 months. Her boldest stage move came in 1995 at 62, when she tackled the iconic role of Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard, a part typically reserved for actresses in their 50s. Clark's portrayal of the fallen star was so powerful that she was invited to reprise the role in London's West End, performing over 600 shows. Even in her 80s, Clark wasn't ready to stop. In 2017, at 84, she released her 48th studio album, Living for Today, proving her voice and her passion were as strong as ever. The album charted at number 46 in the UK, making her one of the oldest artists to do so. But instead of slowing down, she embarked on a 53-date US tour at 85, performing 90-minute sets without intermission. The biggest surprise came on February 23, 2018, at New York's B.B. King Blues Club, when she stayed on stage for an extra 30 minutes, jamming with the house band until well past midnight, a spontaneous moment that left fans stunned. Petula Clark had a long history of defying expectations. On March 2, 1968, during her NBC special, she made history with a simple yet profound gesture. While performing on The Path of Glory alongside Harry Belafonte, she placed her hand on his forearm. A brief 3.5 seconds. It was the first time a white woman had ever physically touched a black man on American television. A groundbreaking moment that would forever be remembered. The backlash was swift and fierce. Chrysler, the sponsor of the show, feared losing Southern customers and demanded the controversial scene be reshot without the contact. But Petula Clark refused. In a tense, late-night standoff, she and her husband erased every alternate take, ensuring only the original would air. On April 8th, just 4 days after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., the special aired unaltered. Chrysler lost the battle, and that brief moment of physical contact became a landmark in television history. Clark's life was full of unexpected moments, and one such occasion took place on June 1, 1969, at John Lennon and Yoko Ono's Bed-In for Peace at Montreal's Queen Elizabeth Hotel. While visiting the city, Clark was spontaneously handed a lyric sheet and asked to sing on Give Peace a Chance. Though her voice was barely audible in the final mix, she unknowingly became part of one of music's most iconic moments. Clark faced unexpected challenges. In Quebec, she was heckled by both English and French speakers. At an Elvis show in Las Vegas, he invited her and Karen Carpenter backstage, but Clark quickly left, joking, "We had other things to do." In 1979, Clark's telegram congratulating Margaret Thatcher sparked a backlash, hurting her career. It showed how even small actions could have big consequences. Clark also battled industry issues. A producer once invited her to a hotel room under the guise of a meeting, and she fought against pay inequality, supporting Me Too and Time's Up. She married Claude Wolff in 1961, and despite no longer being romantically involved, their marriage lasted until his death in 2024. The toll of balancing fame and family weighed on her, as she often flew between Geneva and Las Vegas, causing personal guilt. What many don't realize is that Petula Clark was also a gifted songwriter, earning an induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1998. One of Europe's best-selling artists of her time, she earned a Golden Globe nomination for Finian's Rainbow and BAFTA nominations for both The Sound of Music and Mary Poppins. Petula Clark toured at 85, rewriting history.